Howdy, y'all. You know, I'm always fascinated when I see that there's a new Western out. Because the Western is like the forgotten part of American cinema history. You know, at one time it was the premier genre of American cinema. All of our great, celebrities were cowboy movie stars. And then the genre started to kind of die out. Now it only pops up every so often, and the problem with it is you can tell there's a huge shift in the way the Western is perceived, and rightfully so. I mean, if you watch the old John Wayne ones, there's a beauty to them. There's a gloss. Everything looks great. The good guys are always good. The bad guys are always bad. But the problem with that is it's about as historically accurate as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So now all of our Westerns that come out are usually very dirty, very grimy. Your heroes are kind of disgusting. They're much more violent, trying to depict the, a little bit more historically accurate view of what that time in history was like. The end result of that is that they're more historically accurate, but the movies aren't as much fun to watch. Every now and then you get one that tries to balance it out, like The Magnificent Seven a few years ago. And it would not surprise me if on some behind-the-scenes thing you found out that it was during the making of that film that Vincent D'Onofrio got two of his co-stars, Ethan Hawke and Chris Pratt, to sign on for this one. So this was the movie I was talking about during the Captain Marvel review that I wanted to see but wasn't playing anywhere. Well, it was. It's just playing, way out, than I normally go. But I sought it out, and I'm kind of glad I did, but it's an interesting film to talk about. So, what's the story? First of all, I'm very surprised with Chris Pratt being in it that this has not gotten more advertising, because he's like the man right now. Ethan Hawke, who is the actual star of the film, I can see a bit. He's not the star he once was. He does a lot of smaller pictures now, so I can understand that, saying, oh, let's go see that new Ethan Hawke movie. But at first I was very confused, like, well, this is Chris Pratt. Put his name on anything these days. But after watching it, I understand why. We'll come back to that in a second. So anyway, the main thrust of this film is you have these two kids, this brother and sister, Reno and Sarah. And one night, their pa is really beating their ma. He's beating her to death, essentially. I don't mean to sound glib about that. Just there's no other way to kind of zip through this. And Reno grabs a gun and shoots his pa. He's too late to save his mother, but he shoots his dad. Now his dad's brother, as played by Chris Pratt, is now after the two of them for revenge. So that's movie number one. So there's like 2 or 3 movies going on here. Movie number 2 is that while they're on the run, Reno and Sarah accidentally kind of end up sharing a hideout with Billy the Kid and his gang. Billy the Kid, as played by Dana D'Angelo. I can't remember how to pronounce the guy's name. He played Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man. So they're holed up with Billy the Kid, who ends up getting arrested by the sheriff pursuing him, as played by Ethan Hawke. And so they're going on. The kid, Reno, is forming like this weird kind of hero worship with Billy the Kid, because, all kids love an outlaw and, love somebody who seems to like be thumbing their nose at authority and whatnot. And somewhere along the line, Chris Pratt, uncle, catches up with them, kidnaps Sarah, and says, if you ever come after her, I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill her. So Reno goes on this thing to kind of convince Billy the Kid to break out and come, help him get Sarah back. So again, there's a lot going on here and a lot of twists and turns in this film. So right off the bat, I'm going to say that one of the things that makes this movie really great is the acting. The acting is top notch. You got some damn good performances out of some damn good actors. Ethan Hawke, I've always liked Ethan Hawke, except in Reality Bites. But I've always liked him as an actor, but I think he is just made for Westerns. You know, the only reason I wish they'd make more Westerns is because I would love to see Ethan Hawke in more Westerns. He just fits so well. He just looks so at home. And his character is just wonderfully layered. Some really great dialogue for him. And so, yeah, just an all-around really great performance. Also, Harry Osborn, this is the best thing I've ever seen him in. You know, he always has that kind of serial killer look to him. You know, no offense, buddy, but you do. So it's nice to see a film that kind of lets him play the levels of that, you know, and he really does have a good time playing, you know, the cocky outlaw, you know, the scheming bad guy, the coward who's hiding behind bravado. There are a lot of layers that he gets to explore with this character, and it's really well done. Going back to Chris Pratt for a second, I now know after watching the movie why they didn't, you know, push him a little bit harder in the advertising, because this is not the Chris Pratt kind of role. I forget sometimes how good of an actor Chris Pratt actually is. Okay? Because he's gotten so bogged down in that smug, sarcastic man-boy role that he plays wonderfully in Guardians of the Galaxy, but gets irritating in every other fucking film he's in. You know? But every now and then a film like this or Passengers comes along and you're reminded, oh, this guy's actually a really good actor. And Chris Pratt plays this bad guy, this villain, this drunk, abusive shithead. Boy, does he play it well. To the point that I'm watching and going, man, I want to see him play more villains. I really want to see him play more villains now, because he really... So yeah, like I say, I can tell why they didn't push him in the advertisements. People go saying, oh, Chris Pratt, he's going to be all smarmy and charming. Nope. Nope. So yeah, really good turn for him. Not ironically, I guess, but the only role in the film that I feel is not well acted is Reno, is the kid. And I don't like coming down on young actors because, you know, they're young. And in this case, I cannot tell if it's because the acting is bad or in his case, the writing is bad. You know? Or some bizarre combination of the two, because I don't think the character is very well written. And it's his story arc that we're following. The whole story arc, I'm going to spoil it a little bit here, is that he sees Billy the Kid as the guy who's going to help him, the guy who understands, you know, that outlaw and all that. And he comes to realize through the film that, you know, Billy is just what everybody has said he is. He's a murdering scumbag who only looks out for himself. And the real person who's going to help you out is the sterner, more by-the-book guy who you might think is a square, but is actually looking out for your best interest. You know, the Ethan Hawke character. So, the story arc is really good, but here's the problem, is it plays out as kind of one of those observers to history kind of narrative, where they drop this side story, or not side, it's a side story to the Billy the Kid story, but they drop this story of these two kids being separated by a villain and needing help into the factual, or as close to factual as they can get, given, you know, the records of the time, account of kind of the last days of Billy the Kid. So you feel like the main story takes a sidestep for the Billy the Kid movie they were trying to make, and then once Billy the Kid is out of the picture, then we get back on track. You know? So it's a little disjointed. Furthermore, I think, as far as I know, this is Vincent D'Onofrio's first directing attempt, it seems like to me. And the reason I say that is because it's filled with a lot of what I would call rookie directing mistakes. And I'm not a filmmaker, so I can't really say this with any kind of certainty. But I can say it from an audience member who's watched a lot of movies and as a trained stage director. And as a trained playwright as well. The writing of it and the filming of it jumps scenes very sporadically. There's a scene where after Billy's escaped and they're holed up at this farm, so then Billy's teaching Reno to shoot. Bang, bang, bang. That scene lasts 2 seconds. Next thing, all of a sudden, Billy is having a shouting match with this Mexican girl that I guess he impregnated. About why he's not going to stay. That cuts real quick to him storming off. That cuts real quick to him sitting drunk at a table, delivering this big emotional monologue to Reno. And there's no segue to any of it. There's no visual segue, and there's no emotional segue. So when Harry Osborn is giving a really well-delivered and well-written speech to Reno about the first man that he killed, and how he really is afraid of all these things, and he pretends like he's not, this really character-defining speech, it does not land, because it's just all of a sudden, here we are. So that's an issue. And it does that a couple times. We just jump to scenes. It takes a long time to get invested in some of these characters because we don't get to grow with them naturally. We're just thrown into scenes. So that's an issue that I have. That being said, and those things being true, I do believe that this movie is greater than the sum of its parts. I think the story is interesting enough, both stories, even though they don't always gel as well as you'd like. But both stories are interesting and fascinating because you've got, like I say, you've got the boy becomes a man narrative, and you've got, kind of the last days of Billy the Kid narrative. And while they don't always work together, they both are very good. Again, while the writing is a little shaky, when it's good. Both, Ethan Hawke and Harry Osborn both get some really great monologues. I would have liked a little bit more screen time for villain Chris Pratt. And again, that's kind of the problem with the two movies kind of slammed together, is that An Interesting Thing does not get a lot of screen time. And I would have, you already got a couple antagonists. So now you have the third antagonist who kind of gets cut short. But the only thing I'll say about Chris Pratt's performance, and I don't know if I'm proven wrong, I'm going to look like an idiot, but I'm going to say this. He's got a really thick beard in the film. And I'm questioning the whole time I'm watching it, is that his real beard or is that a fake beard? Because there's a certain, it has a very, sharp edge to it. And I'm looking at it, there's a couple shots in it where I'm looking at it just thinking, give me that fake beard. Come on. I don't know. Maybe, who knows when this was filmed? They might have had to glue a fake beard on him because he was doing the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and this film didn't have, the Justice League budget to digitally remove his beard. But anyway, I do believe that the film is greater than the sum of its parts. I also would have liked a little bit more screen time and a little bit more character arc for Sarah, the sister, who I'm afraid does fall victim to the Western damsel in distress, phenomenon. the only reason I'm going to say it's okay, quote unquote, is because it does serve the story. She is the maternal figure who's helping Reno through tragedy, and then at the very end, Reno takes up the mantle of being a man, grows up, and is going to be a better person. He's going to follow we get the feeling he's going to follow the right example, because now he is comforting her through tragedy. So it makes the nice bookend of the film, but again, I think it would have been nice to have her have a bit more of a character than what she kind of ended up as, just being there. The object. She is a video game damsel. She is the thing to rescue. And, that's fine, I guess, if you need that for story arc, but I think you could have done more with her. But then again, as I say that, I'm thinking they were already having a hard time cramming two totally separate movies together. Adding another story arc for another character would have, that might have broken it. So who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying that is something I noticed that was very kind of... So, I think that's just about everything. I can't think of anything else. So, final grade for this one? That's a tough question. I'm gonna say a C+ for The Kid. It is not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, and it's a weird thing, because I feel like that C+ is too low, but I think giving it a B is too high. I don't. It's you kind of wish there was another letter in between to kind of bridge the gap there, because the performances really are fantastic. I really liked all the acting in this, with that one exception. But the stories are really interesting, but again, there's a structure problem. They don't fit together quite well. It's a little bit more boring than I was kind of anticipating. I was hoping for a little bit more excitement, but you get what you get. So not a bad movie, and if you are a Western fan, I think you'll enjoy it, because it kind of does have a little bit of that old school John Wayne Western, grow up, be a man kind of thing done for the 21st century. So I think if you're a fan of the genre, you may enjoy this. That's about all the time I have here, folks. And it's a lonely life sometimes. You ride into town and you review the movies, and then you ride off again, and you just have to go to the next town and the next film. Film critic ain't got no connections, you see. We're a lonely breed who wants to be around our smarminess. I can see it now as I was driving away. All the children watching after with their maws, going, "Ma, who was that average-looking man with stuffed animals at his side, done rode into town, heckled our movies, and then rode out again?" And they say, "Well, darling, no one knows, for that there be the film critic with no name and very few viewers. But you'll see him again, for whenever there's a movie that needs someone a-watching it, he'll be there, and you'll be there too." So, for Drive Home Reviews, I say happy trails for you, and as always, drive safe, and I'll see you at the movies.